Yeah, there we go. Ooh, yeah. Welcome, people. Welcome, YouTube, to Late Night Hip Hop Live. We back. Woo! We back, y'all. Late Night Hip Hop Live on Team Box Cutter YouTube channel. We're not gonna wait for people to start coming in. You can watch it back again. But my name is Bruce Lively.
And I'm D-Boy Slim.
D-Boy Slim, how you been, bro? It's been a couple weeks, man, and it's all my fault.
Oh man, keeping up, staying up, staying out the way.
Staying safe?
Staying safe, definitely, most importantly.
Ooh, that beat is so hard. I love it. Team Box Cutter beats, man. You know where to get them, man. airbit.com/teamboxcutter, beatstars.com/teamboxcutter. All the stuff is usually right down there. But let's get started on today's conversation now. There's going to be a lot of people who tuned in. There's going to be a lot of people who tuned in, D-Boy, because in the caption it says, what is going on with Jay-Z? Now let's talk about it. DJ Khaled.
Is it what's going on with Jay-Z or what happened to Jay-Z?
What happened to Jay-Z? The caption said what's going on, and the title says what happened to Jay-Z? What happened to him? But before we get started, some people may not know. They don't know that it's something that just came out. DJ Khaled, Nas, and Jay-Z collaborated, and a few other singers.
Classic.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. I don't know about classic.
Already, that's a classic.
Really? Lyrically, I don't know. There's a lot of good stuff in there to break down. But let's take a look, shall we, at what it is I think may have more importance or even metaphorical importance than just the song itself. We can break them both down. We can break them both down. But do y'all see this? You see this?
The boss of the bosses.
This is the boss of the... It seems to me, look at this, y'all. Come on, man. The man has dreads that look like he's been homeless for at least 5 years. At least 5 years. They're knotted together, sticking up in strange and weird directions. And listen, guys, if you don't turn off yet, because we're just giving you the back, we're just setting this up for you. I think there's more here. You can go any way you want to, D-Boy. I'm gonna ask you first. What's going on with this new Jay-Z? We can talk about the lyrics in this song. Sorry Not Sorry. Y'all need to check it out. We can just go straight into what's happening here. The look, the style.
Well,
is there more that meets
quite
the eye?
honest with you, I think it's more intriguing if I tackle that very distinctive what happened to Jay-Z. Because
okay.
if we just was to break down what's going on with Jay-Z, we would be here until tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
But if we break down what's happened to Jay-Z, it would suggest that he's not the same as he used to be. And I find that topic, as we talked about off air, very intriguing. And this is what we bring to you today. A lot has happened with Jay-Z. And when we say has happened, meaning since the early and beginning stages of his career. Obviously, the easiest thing to point to would be his money and the fact that he's a billionaire now. But in between, we've seen creative changes from Jay. We've seen business changes from Jay. We've seen style and fashion, which has always been a staple to who Jay-Z was, but we've seen that distinctively change. So, I know one of the things that you wanted to get into was the fashion sense of Jay-Z and how it's changed, or as I like to put, evolved over the years. One of the things we did speak about off air, in which I found intriguing, is that now, where he has the money, in which what makes it so intriguing is because if you follow Jay from the early stages of his career, he was one that he didn't apologize for the lifestyle that he, used to represent, or the lifestyle that he participated in and indulged in as far as street life. And he made no apologies about, emphasis on materialistic, emphasis on material things.
Mm-hmm.
I can remember distinctively one of his lines: "I'm gonna buy more Versace. I'm gonna pour more Cristal." Like he made younger Jay-Z made no apologies about the lifestyle that he led and what he did with the money. So, I guess, for lack of better terms, or in lamest terms, what we see now is the evolution of Jay-Z, and what, simply is just a man who grew up, and what makes Jay-Z different from the rest, because, to some of us, the money that he was playing with now, the money that he was throwing around back then could last a lot of us a lifetime. But obviously now it's plain to see that he's, he had a different vision, and his aim was for generational wealth. And I think what makes this intriguing, and this show in itself makes it intriguing, and the topic that we're handling, is because the growth and the evolution that we've seen with Jay is less, I got platinum chains. It's less, I got 10 Bentleys. It's less, pouring Cristal or whatever have you. It's nothing, but it's more of, I'm at the art basel, or I shouldn't have spent that money back then. I would, I could have turned an investment into 100 million and been a billionaire. Or, more in teaching not only financial wealth, but, as I was saying from the top, the fashion end of it has changed. It's very rare that you catch Jay, which obviously he's a billionaire who hangs amongst billionaires. You won't catch him in jerseys and jogging suits. Very rare. Sometimes maybe, but mostly it's in tuxedos, bow ties, things of that nature. Now, what makes that even more intriguing is that Jay went from having a bald head to having a Caesar with waves, and now he has dreadlocks. And you pointed out from the top that maybe you could almost say he looks homeless, but at the very least, he looks like he's taken on, or maybe even representing a representation of a Rastafarian lifestyle.
Wait a minute,
I think with the dreadlocks.
Hold on.
The dreadlocks represented initially.
Let me get into that. I know you understand that, but let me further that one. What I would like to know is, there's other things that I want to know what he's. I want to know what else this means. Let me talk about that first, and then I'll hopefully try to direct you in a way that I think is something that you would know more about. But let me talk about these dreads. People, I said it to be funny in the beginning, and basically to throw you off, that he looks homeless for at least 5 years. There's not just regular dreads. Me as a Jamaican, okay, this has been a part of our culture and things that we've known about for a very long time, and it means something. Let's talk about the fact that the type of dreads that he has, these is called the natty dreadlocks. Natty dreadlocks, not fashion dreads, dreads that are neat and tidy, that you can put in a band and go to work and be a CEO and be taken seriously. This style of dreadlocks, the knotted, where they're bunched together, and Bantu dreads, right? They're that way for a reason, and that reason was in Jamaica that meant that you gave up materialism and the material lifestyle of the capitalist world. It was a very specific meaning, and you went to go live in what we call the bush. Everybody calls it bush, but it literally is called the bush. You were a bushman. A bushman is someone who studies nature, who studies himself, who uses weed not to get high, but who uses it as a way to get closer to God, who finds that throwing off all of the material things that put us in bondage, in their opinion, is throwing all that off is actually giving them way more than anybody else has, despite their car, house, or gold or platinum necklace, as Jay-Z taught us back in the 90s.
More of a spiritual enlightenment.
Exactly. Now, we know that Jay-Z is a lover of art. This is something fairly new to him. If you say, that maybe the last 10 years, he's become more of a lover of art, and understanding visual metaphors, I think, is something that he knows way more. History of visual metaphors. This was on purpose. He's got the biggest pinky ring you've ever seen, but it's on his pinky. And everywhere else is on his lapel, if we can look at it again. On his lapel is like bone. It's natural. His jewelry, he's still showing the dichotomy that we always knew existed, right? We see the big pinky ring, blah, blah, blah. But on his lapel, it's not shiny. Let's take a look at it if we can, people. I just want to show you this picture. And from somebody who studies art, who's a fan of art, who look at this stuff, man. Pearls, natural pearls. It's not a diamond. It's a natural ruby. Okay?
Different.
It's different. It's a natural ruby.
Different.
And this hair right here, that signifies something that I think he's doing on purpose. Like when you look at a canvas, someone will look at a Van Gogh painting and see, well, that is a person screaming on a bridge. Another person looks beyond the surface at the strokes and says, well, no, more importantly is the sky behind the person screaming on the bridge. That's why this Van Gogh painting was good. And this guy is the modern day. He's turning himself in this video into a Van Goghian style metaphor. That it's time to let that stuff go. It doesn't mean you're not rich. He's playing poker with $1 billion on the table. But he's showing you that that's not what's important. Look at me. Look at what I've done to myself. That stuff. These are the spoils of what I've done. But it's not who I am, and that is now where the fashion that he's talking about is going. It's a metaphor. It's a Van Goghian type metaphor. It's someone who studies art and sees the meaning of it, or else he would have had dreads a long time ago if he thought that it looked good or was a cool fashion statement.
Right.
Right now, the change that he's made, he's making a statement bigger than I think people know. This is a historical hairstyle that means something, and when he uses the words that tried to kill Christ, instead created a religion. He's talking, of course, about himself. He's always been Hove, Jehovah, right? But he really understands that when he tried to get rid of all of the other things, the trappings, he found out that he became an even more spiritual person on the inside. Likewise, when other people tried to criticize him for knowing Obama and for not doing enough or whatever people criticize him for every day, the hate is real, they didn't realize that they were creating an even stronger base for him that understands him. Both metaphors make sense. both the hairstyle and what I think his whole visual metaphor that he's making right now is based in historical knowledge, is based in Van Goghian metaphors, and you might think I'm taking too much into it, but I don't, because his lifestyle has changed such that you can actually draw that from how he speaks and what he does, which I'm going to go to you for now. I can't even remember the things he did, all the things he's done in the past 5-6 years that kind of prove this point. Break it down for me.
I think you hit it on the head when you use the terminology metaphor. And I'll even take it a step further. Now, I don't want to, I didn't get this from Jay-Z, but what I do get from, like you said, a metaphoric standpoint is the fact, first of all, like you said, you'd be naive to think that Jay-Z's not fully aware that he's the head of the culture. He is the, for
Great.
lack of like the poster child of the culture.
Very great point.
He,
and that's whether you like
for most of the hip hop culture, the best to do it on all levels.
Mm-hmm.
And so to think that he's not conscious of that when he's doing this imagery, like you said, you'd be naive. So in knowing that, and with that being said, you see him now that he's at probably an untouchable standpoint now. Because let's be honest, most won't see $1 billion out the game. Hopefully they do, but most won't. So him being at the state, and he's the fact, and it's a fact that he was the first. Now we know that Kanye has touched $1 billion, but Jay was the first to do it. I remember me and Bruce off air always used to have conversations and thinking who would be
Kanye.
First.
You mean Dre?
Now Dre is not yet a billionaire yet, but Kanye is.
I thought he was the first one to have $1 billion deal with Apple.
Well, because he had to split what was given to him with Jimmy Iovine, they both touched in the deal. They both touched about 8. Well, I know now Dre is pretty close. If you look it up on all sites, it'll probably say somewhere in the range of 800 to 900 million.
Okay.
Which, for all intents and purposes.
Hey, what's up, Luna Lindsay?
You're right there at $1 billion. But yeah, Jay was definitely factually, the first. And that's documented, the first hip hop figure to be a billionaire. And I say that to say, like, the imagery that he's putting out, like you said, to me, is to change one's perception of what somebody wealthy of his status is supposed to look like.
Right.
And that, to me, in itself is deep and powerful as anything that he could say.
Yep.
Sort of like when he was on top and the head rapper at his label, and you would see him with the New York hat like that over his eyes. He was telling you that, yeah, I'm the best rapper, but I'm a mogul too. I'm a boss. And it's no different. It's no different with the dreadlocks. It's like, he's at a level where he can do what he wants and doesn't have to answer for it. He doesn't have to answer, there's no consequences for that. In which we would probably tell our children, cut your hair off so that you could get a good job.
Oh,
well, guess what? Nowadays, this generation could point to somebody like Jay-Z and say, I could be Jay-Z with the dreadlock.
Yep.
Of course, we know as men of our age that you have to first get to that level first. But, I think he's trying to change the perception. Or not even trying. He's changing the perception of what someone's mind or what you may think that a billionaire or a mogul or an icon is supposed to look like.
Let me ask you this. Considering the context, I'm saying the history of these Bantu-style knotted dreadlocks in Jamaica were basically where this, style is known as that for a reason. Being a bushman, throwing off all of the constraints of capitalism to get closer to nature and God, being more spiritual. And the reason why I can pull that out of what I think is his literal visual metaphor he's making is because he's done things like help um, help Meek Mill, because he spent money buying lawyers, not dope bags, because he spent money lobbying for things that he thinks are necessary for his people. And people will go, oh, wait a minute, he's never done this and that, but I don't think they know exactly all. You know way more than me, and that's kind of what I wanted you to bring up, because I can only bring up a few examples off the top of my head, but you knew more. Why is it that I think I can make that comparison to what he's become, and why I think he's making this? It's not just a something out of thin air I'm making up because I saw somebody with Bantu style dreads one day. Why? What gives me the right to say that?
One thing about it, and I want to speak on first what I know of the culture, or Rastafarian culture, and that's to go about life, like you said, non-systemic.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what hip hop is anyway. Anybody that knows really the origin of hip hop, it's about going about it your way, turning something out of nothing and going about it your way. Whether it's wearing your hat like this or whatever have you, that's what hip hop was always about. Rebelling against the system, same parallels with Rastafari, and going about it and going about things your way. Now, as far as Jay-Z's concerned, I think, like you said, we've seen the evolutions just of a man. The way he's choosing to display it is, like I said, what's rare and what's odd and what's intriguing. But we've never seen the likes of somebody like Jay-Z reach his status. You ask me what some of the things you can point to, not only, like you said, supporting Meek and getting Meek from under the situation, which was said to be unfair as far as the judge sentencing him back in jail or whatever for minor to no charges or whatever, and he already been on probation over 10 years. But there was the situation with 21 Savage where he was going to get deported, in which these guys have no ties to Jay-Z other than the fact, and Jay-Z doesn't benefit from them other than the fact that they're hip hop, constituents. They're just people who are in the same industry as him. And he helped 21 Savages with the lawyers that kept him around and kept him in the States and kept him from being deported. Which, like, if you look at Haitian Jack and a couple of other people that wasn't born, Slick Rick, and a couple of other people that were deported over the years, that's not such an easy task.
Right.
So there was that situation that he helped out with. The $5 million that he backed up the Meek Mill's prison reform campaign that he put up out of his own money. And just a plethora of things that Jay now, and the thing about it is like I said, because if you knew Jay from the early stages of his career, Jay probably would have told you, I don't give a damn, and I don't really care what you think about it. Like, I'm getting my money, I'm repping my crew, I got my crew, and we eating, and that's that, But, yeah, he's become more conscious just on all levels, and I think setting a good example for the ones because now somebody like 21 Savage, when the situation or when the opportunity presents himself for him to help out the next young guy that may be in trouble with the law as he was at one time, he may take the same route that Jay took in helping him out and giving him an extent. I just like the example that Jay set, and not only through the music, but through his actions. And that's really all you can ask for of somebody of his status. And of course, like you said, you hear the haters every day about what he didn't do, what he should have did, what he could do, this, that, and the third. But, actions speak for themselves. And he's taking a lot of action.
Okay.
Yeah, and that I think aligns with what you were saying as far as the representation that you see from his choice of fashion and his hairstyle. So,
he's got all natural pearls on his lapel, not diamonds.
Yeah, you pointed that was a
Yeah.
good point too. That might have been a ruby.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
might have been
He
a
got a ruby
like,
on his ring, not a diamond.
Nothing typical about it.
I believe he's saying more than meets the eye, as he always does. But as a person who watches art and who loves art and purchases art, expensive art, to hang on his wall to reflect on metaphor, he understands the meaning of visual metaphor more than I think most people would know. And the history of that hairstyle and the way that he's representing it, I think, means something. But let's talk to the people who are going to say, because you know what's going to happen. These haters that we just mentioned are going to say, man, he gave the NFL a pass. He went and joined them just so that he could make the money and make them seem credible. And so now he does this to try to act like he's with the black people again. When he wasn't with Kaepernick or something like that is what they would say. I'm not saying I'm saying that, but I'm playing devil's advocate. To a person who says that, well, this is the reason why he's doing it and why he's going all out. They don't even look like regular dreads. He went for the absolute most, knotty Bushman dreads. Is because he wants to look more like one of us again, which I think would be a dumb thing to say. But you get along the lines where someone is going to say that. Someone people who we know have already felt like, because everything he does is to benefit either himself or someone who doesn't look like him, when he did the thing in the NFL especially, instead of him being the boss, bringing in more black players and giving more black people equality by being there, period. What do you say to that person?
One thing
How do you... Yeah, go ahead.
One must understand, and this is just to the people, I'm speaking to people with good common sense and who think with logic. Like, one, to understand where Jay was at, what kind of space Jay was in at that point, as far as taking a deal where the NFL consults with him. You must first understand how far of a journey that is to somebody like Jay-Z, who comes from probably one of the worst projects in Brooklyn and in New York City, period, who defied and beat the odds and became the #1 rapper at a record label that he owns. One must,
wait a minute.
You must understand what type of process and journey that is.
Wait a minute.
To even begin to comprehend.
What you just said deserves something. What you just said deserves one of these. Hold on. Yes. Can we get some hip hop for that? Like, wow. Go ahead. I apologize.
And so, to begin to comprehend and take in where he's at when the NFL is saying that they want to consult with him. It's like, maybe there are people out here that look at that with skeptical and say, "Oh, there's a lot because of the cause and the plight that we had going with Kaepernick. He just went against the grain, or he sold our people out for another dollar, or whatever you might want to say to that situation." But all I would say is like, you have to take a look at the bigger picture. This is somebody who, again, he's from the housing project. I can't, put enough emphasis on the fact that, if you look at the conditions, if you go back to the conditions in real life on where he's from now,
Marcy Project,
and you see the odds that he beat, you say it's incredible. The fact that this guy has a say-so in the NBA franchise, New Jersey Nets, coming back to his hometown in Brooklyn. Like, he had a hand in that. He had a hand in the Barclays Center, which is now thriving in Brooklyn. And from the looks of it, Brooklyn may win the championship this year. Like, you have to look at these things and say, wow, this skinny guy from the projects who sold a little dope, when he was younger, in his younger years, was able to make all of these things happen. Like, so again, getting back to my point of the NFL, you have to look at the bigger picture. It's bigger, and not to belittle or undermine the plight and the cause that Kaepernick stood for, because he did. He sacrificed his NFL career to stand up for a better cause.
And we stand up for Kaepernick here.
But you have to look at, they may have been fighting for the same cause, just on different tracks. It's how I would look at that. And like I said, if you see Jay-Z and what he's about now, you understand that Jay-Z definitely understands the cause and the struggle of those, less fortunate or underprivileged. And like I said, he comes from that. So, somebody like Jay-Z being able to get money, to get paid, to being a consultant of the NFL, it is, that speaks volumes in itself. So I can't, there's an old saying, you're going to want to believe what you want to believe anyway.
Yeah.
Or whatever have you. Or you're going to make your choice. Most of you who don't like Jay-Z already had your mind made up after Tupac. Let's just be honest about it. And that's fine, and that's okay. But if you look at what he's done, I mean, you could leave the part out about him being the best rapper, and he's still one of the best businessmen of modern day, of this time.
So I think that the people who are going to say he's doing this, he's getting these dreads, he's got this new look as a way to look like he's one of us again, are the people who forget that he made it where he is by being one of us. The only reason people bought Jay-Z and Jazz-O, the only reason why people bought Jay-Z when he's with Dame Dash, the only reason why people bought the Black Album, the only reason why people bought that was because he was representative of one of us back then. And so now it's kind of crazy to say, well, now he's made it to where he is by being one of us, a dope dealer from Marcy that said, I can do better. In his raps, said just about as much, right? You loved it then. And now you say when he goes to the NFL, because he says we're past the Kaepernick thing, but by the way, everybody who's on my management team happens to be black and works for the NFL. The NFL themselves have to talk to me before they do any type of campaigning for black people, because they know that I know more about it than them. That's where we wanted him, isn't it? That's what we wanted, wasn't it? That was the dream, wasn't it, when we bought the album before you could download it? Wasn't that the dream? Wasn't that what we were hoping we would find him doing? Or is it only the fact that when you're getting shot, locked up, or thrown away, that's the only time you can get the flowers? That's the only time you can get the love from the community. Not when you're building bridges to make things better, but only when you have your fist in the air and die in a pool of blood. You lose your job and you have nothing left to say for yourself. That's when you become something important to us. Is that the goal? Is that the only way that we can give somebody the flowers, as they say on Drink Champ? No, I think we've got it backwards, people. I think when you see somebody doing this type of business that helps all people who came from Marcy Projects, if you loved him when he was at Marcy, you gotta love him now. You gotta love him now. But this hairstyle, I think has more to say. If you still can hear me, D-Boy, let me know. But I'm going to go for the people. I have this last point, and it goes to the song itself. Listen, people, what we're talking about is Jay-Z's seemingly physical transformation in the video with Khaled, uh, yeah, yeah, with DJ Khaled. Sorry Not Sorry. Your boy comes out, Jay-Z that is, with these knotted dreads, and I say it has metaphorical meaning. For people who just joined, I'm saying that he is an artist. He is a person who loves art and understands what. All right, check it out, lady. I got you. We're gonna quick recap. As a person who loves art and sees something past what's on the canvas, looks for metaphor, looks for history in what we see in the artwork presented. I believe that he understands that those style of knotted, crazy dreads that he looked like he'd been homeless for 5 years is a very specific style, not neat that you can tie up for a business meeting. It's a very specific style of a type of dread that we used to call the natty dread, as opposed to the fashion dread, the Bantu dreads, that signified that you were throwing off the chains of capitalism. You were throwing off the chains of conventionalism. You were becoming less material and more spiritual. That's my piece. That's my case, and I'm making that case now. Let's look at this. As if everything that we just said for the past hour wasn't enough. If you missed it, I'm so sorry, but you can always go back and watch it. He has a lyric in there, and his lyric says, I like who I've become. Intermittent fasting, but I'm still getting to the millions.
These meals, I ain't missing none.
These meals, I ain't missing none. These meals, I ain't missing none. These meals, I ain't missing none. Everybody gets the, what's up, BJ? Everybody gets the double entendre there, right? Everybody gets, or not double entendre, everybody gets the, it's not a metaphor, it's homonym. Everybody gets the homonym there. The meaning, the double meaning word. He said mill, meaning he still gets to the money, still gets to his meals, even though he's intermittent fasting. I'm not making it up. He knows what those dreads mean. He knows what that is about. Intermittent fasting relates to the spiritual growth that he's having, the spiritual growth that he's presenting by even having that hairstyle as a billionaire, looking like he's been homeless for 5 years. It's not to be funny, and it's not to play black because you didn't like his NFL decision. It's because he's been growing spiritually, intermittently fasting, withholding himself from things that you just don't need. When you fast, you're getting rid of the sugars and the excess. There's so many meanings in that one line that tells you that he knows exactly what he's doing. And my assessment of that hairstyle and that look that he's going for, I believe is true. And he said as much. I'm intermittent. I like who I've become. Intermittent fasting. But these meals, I'm not missing none. Or these meals, I'm not missing none. He said it himself. It means more than you think, guys.
About somebody that's at the table with bosses, the likes of Khaled and Nas in a tuxedo.
With $1,000 chips.
That dichotomy in itself, it's definitely it definitely makes a statement. It definitely makes a statement. It's something to be treated, because obviously somebody who's in a tuxedo or a suit or whatever gets taken more serious than somebody who's in sneakers in a jogging suit.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times, because of the what's the word, the connotation that dreadlocks have, you tend not to, or you think you can just cast those people aside or whatever because they're not interested in what's systemic.
Right.
But so that's what makes that very intriguing in the statement that he's making, and that is the fact that, yeah, I'm here and I'm the boss of the bosses. and I still got my tux on with my ruby, and I could go that way. I could have the jewels, but really, for real, this is where I'm at with it. I got my dreadlocks now.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think the statement is big, and it's big coming from him because he is Mr. Fashion. I think the new fashion is metaphorical. But I think he's trying to promote that. I think he's trying to say, get to your money, but don't forget to fast.
New fashion is no fashion.
New fashion is no fashion. Get to your money, but don't forget to fast. Don't forget what's on in here that needs to also continue to grow. People might say I'm making too much of it. You listen to the words and tell me if I'm wrong. But more importantly, listen to this, what we did today. Listen to what we talked about today and see if we done make any connections in the dots. This is the new Jay-Z that may be the old Jay-Z, but he just didn't have the money to do it. And he had to do what he had to do. I don't know.
Well, you know what? And that in itself is saying something because it tells you just as important it is you being a man who's made a lot of money or material, who's obtained a lot of material. It's just as important the character and the type of man you are.
Yes.
And that's the part of Jay-Z that you can tell grew and evolved. Because I promise you, if you dig in Jay's catalog and you know his lyrics from 20 years ago and 25 years ago, Jay was the one who was unapologetic.
Mm-hmm.
He was unapologetic. We never prayed to God, we prayed to God.
Yeah.
I understand who Jay was back then, 25 years. He was unapologetic about the lifestyles. So the fact that he's telling you, like you said, through message and imagery, the type of person you is maybe as important or more important is saying something. It definitely says something. And for somebody who has followed Jay throughout his career the way I have, like it's definitely meaningful, and I'm feeling that. I'm feeling it.
A wise man once told me, if you're the same person at 50 that you were at 25, then you've wasted half your life. He's grown, he's evolved, and he's sharing that with the consumer and the listener because that's what artists do. That's all we do as artists. I'm an artist. That's all we do. Like, we don't make art to look at it in the basement. We make art to share with others. Hopefully add something to the zeitgeist. And I think he's done that.
You know what? Jay was always somewhat conscious too, even when he rapped that lifestyle. Because now that I think about it, in that same song, I think it's "Can I Live" is the name of the song that I'm speaking of. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but it's "Can I Live" or something like that. But with where he says, "So I keep one eye open like CBS." So he always kind of thought, third eye and kind of deeper beyond the surface or whatever have you. I think it's coming to those rhymes are coming to fruition now.
Luna
and
Lindsay,
who he is at his core.
Luna Lindsay's back, man. You missed all my metaphorical talk, man. But listen, go back and watch it. I think it's good. I think we have it to be said, man, that his visual metaphors are being taken in by me, at least. I think I understand it. And just for Luna's sake, I just want to reiterate the line in his lyric where he says, "I like who I've become, intermittent fasting, but these meals I ain't missing none." Which can be interpreted as meals of millions or meals because he's talking about fasting. I'm not missing any. I think he's getting rid of the idea that materialism is above all, that materialism is all it's about. That I think he's taking on this historical idea of the Bantu dread, of the Nati dreadlock, that the further you are from the system, as you call it, from systematic, the further you are from the money that's a trapping or a chain, the better off you are internally.
Which kind of sheds, or at least blow holes through all these Illuminati theories.
Yes.
Too. Like, I think throughout the years, don't think he doesn't hear about those talks. in different circles and whatnot. Oh, he sold his soul to the people and the Illuminati. This, don't think he doesn't hear about those. So now, when you see him with dreadlocks and going against the system, it's like, what's your excuse now? Like, what are you gonna say?
They're gonna find one. They're gonna find one. You already know. They're gonna find one. I think as a human, he obviously has flaws. I think the flaws that he does have, you're not going to hear about so easily. You may have to ask Beyonce about that, or his daughter about that. You may have to ask his mom about that. I don't think the flaws that people are waiting for him to have, because the same person that they were backing when he was one of us, as they would say, quote unquote, one of us from the projects of Marcy, talking about being one of us, he made it from doing that to being what he is now, to being consulted by the NFL. That's what we wanted, I thought. But people are always going to say, well, once you make it that big, unless you die with your fist in the air in a pool of blood, then we have to turn against you. You can't. The fact that you're the person the NFL contacts, I thought was what we wanted. We wanted them to contact the person from Marcy Projects, not from Beverly Hills. I thought that we wanted the sports agency to be owned by the person from Marcy Projects, not the person from Lower Tennessee. I thought that that's what we wanted, not the person from Wall Street. But then when you actually get there,
everybody got something to say.
They turn you in. Either you become the martyr or you're one of them. Because they don't really want that. They want you to try doing that and die doing that. That's the only way you can get the respect, is if you died trying to do that. Actually getting through and doing it, we just missed it completely. Many of us, not all of us, most people know what it is and respect him for what he does. And that's all I have to say. I think
a lot of times in some circles, some would say that's why Pac is still, the way that he died, somehow.
That's what you're waiting for.
Yeah.
That's your example. That's who you want to be. Because it's easier to believe that you died trying to be awesome than you were actually awesome and just made it, right? It's easier to believe that, because then that means that you have work to do. If everybody who you worshipped, or everybody who you thought was awesome and working for the cause is dead, that means that, well, that's exactly how it goes. But when someone actually makes it to the place where you know is racist, like the NFL, and says, well, now the NFL has to consult with the Marcy Projects guy before they say another black message, instead of saying, well, that's what we were looking for, we're saying somehow he must have sold out. Because if he can do that, then that means that we have more work to do. But if he sold out, then we're all good. It means that we have more work to do. And that is scary to people, to think that they actually have work to do, that they could try hard, they could be more. It's scary to think you can be more.
I think it's sad with our people that when you get to a certain level, like you said, we're almost systematically brainwashed and programmed to hate each other.
Yes.
And that happens, I noticed, like you said, when we're accessible to our people and you can reach out and touch us and we're getting in fights and shootouts at the club, that's when everybody deems you as the realest. But as soon as you're able to, like you said,
make a law about handgun sales,
be a consultant of the NFL, oh, he's Illuminati, oh, he sold us out, this, that, the third, whatever the case. Like I said, Diddy, same thing. You can't win for losing. Like Black Rob, God rest, just passed, and everybody wanted to blame Diddy. Meanwhile, the truth was that Diddy was paying for a lot behind the scenes. Soon as he figured out what was going on, and people are gonna have these thoughts and hate you anyway. So it is what it is. You gotta just live your life. But never mind the fact when Diddy tells you he's richer than these white folks, you want to pay attention to the negative.
which is the funniest line in a hip hop song I've ever heard. Because he's in the boardrooms with the white folks. More importantly, by the caseload, and I'm richer than these white folks. I never forgot that line. And it's not. And for the people, for the white people listening,
to rock by the caseload.
I'm richer than these white folks. What he says to white people listening, what he's saying that is not a racist statement. What he's saying is that black people have forever, culturally, seen the white person as somebody with money and us somebody who may just one day be able, right, to get a little. He reversed it for the first time just think about it, in a societal way, when you hear somebody say Ciroc by the caseload and I'm richer than these white folks. Like, they're buying it from me for the first time. I'm not buying it from them. It's not about white or black. It's about societal change. It's about the message that you don't have to see yourself as second class anymore.
As less.
You don't have to see yourself as less than.
To say, bringing it back home with Jay-Z, is that, just because I'm the guy with the dreadlocks, yeah, I'm also the guy, that sold the most records, most number one hits. I did the jury. I did all of that before. Now that I'm a billionaire, you know what? It doesn't matter. None of it matters.
Don't matter. Or, well, yeah, that's one way. Or I can say, this even matters more. I'm still fasting. Now I'm fasting intermittently. It doesn't mean I'm not getting to my money. It just means that now something else matters just as much. There's a deeper side to all of this. And I think the metaphor was gotten. That's it, man. I don't have much more to that. We went for an hour on one guy. People are going to say that we should have had more to talk about than just one guy. But I think it's not just one guy. It's about...
That's the GOAT.
Yeah, it's the GOAT. And it's about the movement and the metaphor of what I believe he's trying to do, because he's not the only one who's tried to do this. He's the first one who succeeded.
You look at a Michael Jordan interview, it won't just be a Michael Jordan interview, it'll turn into a short film.
Period.
You look at a Floyd Mayweather interview, it won't be just an interview, it'll turn into to a documentary or something.
Yeah.
This is what happens when you talk about the GOAT, and Jay-Z is no different.
What do we have coming up? D-Boy?
You know what, Bruce? I actually took a look at Show Off versus Bonnie Godiva, and I kind of enjoyed that. So
finally, we can start talking about these King versus Queens things. We can talk about the female battle rappers.
Matchups. Those are quite intriguing in themselves.
Thank you. I'm ready. I'm ready to do that next.
That's kind of dope, though. So I think we get back to our battle fans, and
stay strong, Luna.
With Smack and URL have coming up, but
we'll keep y'all posted.
Those men versus women matchups, they kind of dope, though. They kind of dope.
They're dead dope because both of them have certain perspectives that they can come from. Not everything works like it would if a girl was going up against a girl. She can't just say the same thing. And not everything works if a guy talks to her like she's a guy. It changes. A
lot of women are vicious.
Vicious. Listen, man, I can't wait for that. I think, we can do that next for sure, bro. I'm glad you looked at it. I'm glad we got the okay for that. That's it, people. Also, Freestyle Fridays is coming. I know we keep saying it, but if you go to, I'm going to put it out there. We got the commercials for it. We're trying to get the people who want to battle. If you know somebody who wants to battle, you know somebody who's fire with it and just needs a platform to put it on, we're doing the Freestyle Fridays live. I'm playing literally drums and keys while two people battle. If we can have 4, we can do it. And they're gonna, at the end of it all, there will be a prize, studio time, and even cash for the actual winner after many months of doing this. I want to get new artists out. I want to give people a chance to battle and show who and what they got. I'm trying to bring hip hop back to that level where you don't have to have $1 million video, because we had it for just a second with YouTube, but it's that money's easily starting to come back in. Maybe we can bring a few new faces to you. If you know somebody who raps, Freestyle Friday is coming. We'll get them here. We'll do rounds. We'll let them battle, and the winner takes all, or the winner goes on to the next round. You're going to love it, people. I promise you. It's going to be dope. We just need a few more battlers. If you know them, know someone who needs it, hit us up. That's all I can think of, man. D-Boy.
We here for you. We got it. Again, check out Team Box Cutter Beats Production. Yeah, that's the same Bruce that does the camera videos. What else we got on that? Who you see going to the next round of the playoffs?
Well, the Knicks are gonna lose.
I'm out of here.
It's already 3-1, man. I don't see the Knicks pulling out 3 in a row somewhere, buddy.
This is coming from a Bulls fan.
I don't. What do you want me to say, man?
This is coming from a Bulls fan who's mad that Derrick Rose is in the playoffs with a Knicks jersey on, and the Bulls are sitting at home watching their old coach, Tom Thibodeau, and Derrick Rose playing in the playoffs.
I mean, listen, y'all will be home soon. I congratulate you for your team making it there, although it shows how long it's been since you've been there. You got people in the stands spitting on players, acting unruly. They done lost their mind. They were celebrating. They wanted a participation trophy is what they wanted. They wanted a participation trophy is what they wanted. They were dancing in the street after one win in the playoffs. You guys are really, you're really looking sad.
I don't know.
You're looking
sad.
sad.
An Atlanta fan. I don't know.
Not at Madison Square Garden. Y'all are looking very sad. And I thought you would have taken this with more grace, but that's what you do. I'm sure we'll be seeing you home as well very soon. But no, the Bulls didn't make it, but neither will the Knicks. Who goes next? Atlanta Hawks, I can tell you for sure, are going to make it on. People are acting like LeBron and the Lakers. So every time they lose a game, that's the end of it. I'm so tired of that narrative. I'm so tired of that narrative. Like, it's still LeBron. Like, enjoy the game. Like, every single time he wins, it's over until he proves you wrong. Like, just enjoy the game. I don't know who's coming out of there, but let's have a little bit of, let's have a little hindsight.
Nonetheless, some good matchups.
Yeah.
Some good matchups going. But,
you really think you think Brooklyn is going all the way?
Brooklyn might I can't really see anybody beating them in the 17th. Anytime you put Kyrie.
What about Philly?
Kevin Durant and James Harden on the same team. And they play. I can't really see anybody beat. Philly could give them a good run for their money. But again, we're talking about KD, Kyrie, and James Harden. Let's just be. And to top it off, you got Blake Griffin.
Oh, man.
And all these other guys.
Just as a backup.
Let's just be honest.
When Blake Griffin is your backup.
It'll be interesting to see. And yes, should my Knicks lose, we're going for Brooklyn, baby.
You one of those, huh? We out of here, people.
We off this.
Peace.